Welcome into the Fantasy Incline Podcast. We're your hosts, Neco and Gino, and today we do not have a guest on the show. We're going just the duo on this one. We're gonna start our divisional analysis, and so what we'll just kind of explain what we're gonna be doing here throughout the next few weeks. We're just gonna be going division by division, and analyzing guys on the team, fantasy impacts, all that kind of stuff. So by the end of the divisional analysis, we should have covered just about everybody, like every single player that it could possibly be on your fantasy team. We will talk about within this segment,
and then after that, we're gonna be getting the rankings.
So yeah, and then we'll get into rankings closer to your guys' draft time, and we're gonna have some fun. So today we're gonna start with the NFC West.
Teams on the NFC West are Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, and Cardinals. So if you didn't know that already.
So let's start with the Cardinals. So the Arizona Cardinals, and we're gonna, whenever we do this, we're gonna start with the quarterback because I think the quarterback is kind of the integral part of the team, and so the fantasy value of the other guys, be that the wide receivers, the running backs, tight ends, all that kind of stuff, relies on the quarterback. So we're going to start with the quarterback. So in Arizona, Kyler Murray.
I mean, honestly, their whole offense is just full of stars, but Kyler Murray, I think, is going to be a potential top 5 QB in fantasy. I would like to have Kyler Murray on my team. So, I mean, then how are you feeling about Murray?
Yeah. Kyler Murray is definitely gonna be very good this year. He's got the weapons to do great. My biggest problem is that like everyone is high on Kyler Murray. So is he gonna be going way too early?
And going into his second year too. That's kind of what you gotta think about it.
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks sometimes have the sophomore slump.
Yep. Trubisky.
Yep.
Perfect example. But Trubisky's fucking ass anyway. So. All right, Kenyon Drake. How you feeling about Kenyon Drake this year?
So yeah, running backs Kenyon Drake, and then they have Chase Edmonds behind him.
Mm-hmm.
I like Kenyon Drake in this spot because I think Kenyon Drake is a really good running back. He's just in a terrible situation in Miami.
True. I think he's just a perfect back to be catching screens, and you know how the Cardinals loves doing that in their offense. So
yeah, the Cardinals they're gonna end up running like some sort of hybrid offense that's not gonna be necessarily relevant in the NFL. It'll be more of Kyler and shotgun and the college spread kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of check downs and deep balls, that kind of stuff.
They definitely have the weapons to work that offense.
Yeah, so we'll go into wide receivers here, and this might, to be honest with you, this might be one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver trio in the league.
I agree.
Larry Fitzgerald, old reliable.
Yeah, for real.
Christian Kirk in the slot, and the new addition, DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best wide receivers the NFL has seen.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot of people are a tad bit scared with DeAndre Hopkins just because a lot of people say when receivers switch teams on their first year, they're usually not the best. What do you think about that? Do you think that's true with DeAndre Hopkins' situation,
I think
or what?
A lot of people say that, and I think that's because when good wide receivers switch teams, they're immediately thrust into this position where they need to produce.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Hopkins does not absolutely need to produce.
Exactly correct. Like,
because they've got Larry Fitzgerald, they've got Christian Kirk, who's a great wide receiver. Yeah. He doesn't need to be, that the one guy. Like if the game's on the line and Kyler Murray's at like the 30-yard line and they need a touchdown, there's like 2 seconds left on the clock. You don't absolutely have to throw to DeAndre Hopkins. Whereas in other situations, like the Packers, they would have to throw to Devontae Adams. Yeah. There's no other choice.
Mm-hmm. Or even if back when he was on Houston, you know what I'm saying? That was their number one choice. So he's not really going to be like that anymore.
And so that's why I think that people are saying that, oh, well, when wide receivers go to different teams that kind of struggle, it's because they're put in a position where they need to perform and they don't perform to the expectations. Right now, the expectations aren't too high for DeAndre Hopkins, but the thing is that he doesn't need to meet those expectations for the Cardinals to do good because of the other weapons that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I could see him doing well, because he doesn't have as much pressure on him if he were to have gone to a team where he would be the only target.
Yeah, and Kirk was a rookie last year, wasn't he?
Yes.
And I thought he did really good for his rookie season. So just going into his second season, I feel like it's just going to be even stronger. Also adding, obviously, that DeAndre Hopkins to the other side is really just going to make them two both better. So.
Yep. So Cardinals, I think are gonna be a fantasy production type of offense this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what the wide receivers can do, because I'm kind of scared when there's that many weapons in a certain place. It might they get spread out.
Yeah.
If they get all the same amount of targets, you're not necessarily looking at the big fantasy points that you really want from a guy that you draft. But these could also be guys. I'm kind of thinking that, if the ball does get spread out, if they kind of share the load and don't get as much, if one of the three kind of goes off in the first 2 weeks, you could be definitely looking to trade them for a better asset, because if like one of them goes off in the first 2 weeks, that might not be indicative of what the rest of the year is going to show.
Mm-hmm.
They might spread it out the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be beneficial to you to, draft one of these guys, hope they do well, and trade them early.
Yeah, you really just can't go wrong with Cardinals offense.
All right, so we'll move on to the LA Rams.
All right. Jared Goff, what do you how do you feel about Jared Goff without Todd Gurley being that, like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of who I feel like was the player that everybody was scared of, what you were making defensive plays for. And then last year, he started falling off. Now he doesn't have Gurley at all.
Yeah, so Jared Goff, he's kind of a tough one to project right now. I don't think he's going to have the year that, you'd want him to have if you had him on your fantasy team. If you're in a one quarterback league, I can definitely see Jared Goff not being started, being a guy that's like either on a bench or, on waivers, like the one guy on waivers. If you're in a 2 QB league, he might get a few starts, matchup dependent probably, but I can't see him being, the elite quarterback that you're gonna rely on. Like, it's Monday night and it's Jared Goff's turn and you need 40 points. You're not very confident in that.
Yeah. So you said he's a QB that you can't really rely on being amazing, but I think he's a QB that you can rely on that's just going to put up a good amount of average points each week. You know what I'm saying? Like, his offensive line, I feel, is a lot made for pass protection, and then he's got his weapons on the outside that he's been used to for a couple of years, and now they're starting to move into more of like a 2 tight end set. So
at least what we've seen, the Rams offense is kind of a complete stark contrast from the Cardinals offense. The Rams offense is like the Cardinals offense is going to be more like a college kind of spread the ball out shotgun type thing. The Rams offense is a NFL style, like under center, run it up the middle, and then drop back for a medium length pass kind of deal from the NFL style offense of the Rams.
And it's kind of because last year Rams, I think, were the worst with running backs getting tackled in the backfield. So they might be switching to like a little new type of offense, more passing instead of rush first. So
yeah, speaking of the rush, we'll go down to the running backs here, and so no Todd Gurley anymore. Todd Gurley off to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a little bit of a fight for It might just be split the entire year, or there might be some sort of fight for the RB1 slot in LA. But we have Malcolm Brown, we have Darrell Henderson, and we have the new draftee Cam Akers out of Florida State.
3rd round, right?
Something like that. So who knows? I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. Their backs like
who starts?
Yeah, exactly. Who starts, and they might even go run what the Bears did last year and have like a little trio of running backs that they're just consistently playing too. So,
well, this one's kind of hard to project, and so we'll do this. We'll say what we want to happen for fantasy from the Rams is that someone flies under the radar. Say Cam Akers. Cam Akers flies under the radar and goes like either undrafted because he's an RB3 right now. Either undrafted or very, very late in a draft. And for some reason, the Rams say, you know what? Cam Akers is our starter. And they're not going to spread the ball around as much. They might bring in, Darrell Henderson for a goal line situation where he has to pound the ball in or something. But, they're not going to spread the ball around to all 3 running backs equally. That would be a perfect situation for fantasy because then you'd either have a crazy waiver wire pickup in Cam Akers, or if you drafted Cam Akers really, really late, you'd have someone that you could start that you weren't planning on starting.
Yeah, true. All right, wide receivers. I know you're not the most high on them, but Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, so wide receivers: Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Josh Reynolds. Cooper Kupp, I'm not very high on Cooper Kupp this year, which is weird. Because I am high on Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods is going to have a pretty good year because I think Jared Goff is going to have a mediocre season. But I think he's going to look to Robert Woods a lot more this year than he did, Cooper Kupp last year.
You know what this wide receiver core kind of reminds me of? Is Vikings last year when they had Thielen and Diggs, honestly.
Kind of, yeah.
Just because Thielen was kind of like shadowed, you know what I'm saying? And they were all mainly worried about Diggs a lot, but I don't know. I just feel like they're both have almost like the same skill, almost,
I would also, in deeper leagues, I would look out for Josh Reynolds here, to be honest with you. Later in the season last year, I remember Jared Goff was like looking at Josh Reynolds a lot. He had one game that was like pretty darn good. He might be one of those guys where Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, they're the really good guys. You've got your 3rd cornerback, your free safety on Josh Reynolds. The defenses aren't paying attention to him that much. He could sneak in there and get some fantasy points, especially if you're in a deep league where a 12-team 3 wide receiver type situation where the 3rd wide receiver that you're starting or your flex that you're starting isn't going to put up that many points. Josh Reynolds might be your answer.
Yeah. Yep.
Tight end for the Rams, Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. Those are 2 tight ends that could possibly get they could either start or they could start together in a 2 tight end set. So what are you thinking on the tight ends here?
Well, I know Higbee had a really strong year or second half strong year last year. So, and that was kind of more when they knew they weren't going to go with Gurley. They were more switching it to a different type of offense. And I don't know. I like Higbee. I think he could be pretty good tight end for the Rams.
Yeah, Tyler Higbee for me. In other years, I would say yes, Tyler Higbee would be a good pickup because in previous years, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's been like a really steep drop off in tight ends. So like there's like 1 tight end or 2 tight ends that are up there, and then the rest of them kind of score the same amount of points. And so like if you didn't want to spend an early draft pick on a really good tight end in previous years, I think Tyler Higbee would have been a good option. But this year, as of right now, this could change. This definitely could change going up to the draft. But this year, I feel like there's a lot more tight ends.
Oh my goodness. They're like 10 or 11 that can consistently score double-digit points, I feel like.
So that's like not saying that Tyler Higbee is not going to have a good year, But that might be the reason why I downgrade Tyler Higbee and I don't draft him, is because there's just so many other options.
Yeah, I feel you 100%. All
right, we'll get into the San Francisco 49ers out in the Bay Area. So, quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo came over from New England a while ago, and he's been starting. So, what do you think the year looks for Jimmy?
Probably just another guy that I would stay away from. I was never high on Garoppolo. They just really don't pass too often out in San Francisco. I mean, I guess they did bring in Brandon Ayuk, but I don't think he's gonna make a huge impact his first year to maybe change Jimmy G to be a really good fantasy quarterback. So I don't know.
Jimmy Garoppolo for me, man's got some rings. So
yeah. he does.
Can't diss Jimmy here, but I think it's kind of the same situation as Jared Goff, where he's probably going to put up a mediocre amount of points, and if you're in a 1 QB league, he might be on someone's bench, he might be on the waivers. If you're in a 2 QB league, he might get a couple starts, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's where I think Jimmy Garoppolo is right now. Almost the exact same thing as what I said for Jared Goff last time.
Like I could see Jimmy Garoppolo getting a lot of games only scoring like 1 touchdown. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what you want.
That's not what you want. But then I could also see matchup dependent. Like if there's a bad team that he's facing, a bad defense that he's facing, I could see Jimmy G going off for 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, I would look at your matchups. I would look at your quarterbacks, and if you're in a 1 quarterback league, maybe you waited on a quarterback and you got Jimmy G as a backup, and he has a better matchup. He could start. Who knows?
I feel like this is kind of another prove it year for Jimmy. Do you think so?
Yeah, he kind of needs to push San Fran in the right direction here.
All right, so how you feeling about Raheem Mostert?
Yeah, so San Fran's running backs, Raheem Mostert at RB1, Tevin Coleman at RB2.
McKinnon at RB3.
Oh, yeah, Jerick McKinnon too. I don't know. Raheem Mostert, he's going to upgrade him in PPR is my take on this. I think he's going to get a lot of receptions from, the checkdowns of Garoppolo. I think he's just going to be touchdown dependent though. Like if you're playing in a standard or a half PPR league, Raheem Mostert needs a touchdown. A rushing, receiving touchdown, whatever it is. He needs a touchdown to say he had a good week, you know?
And it was no secret, too, that he dominated the not even really second half, but second part of the last season, more like in the playoffs and stuff. So I feel like he's still got to prove something, you know what I'm saying? And if you draft him, say third, fourth round, and he has his job for 2-3 weeks, and then McKinnon takes a starting job, or Coleman, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? That's a bad pickup right there. So he kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of scares me too. He's 28 years old.
Yeah, that scares me even more.
So he's a little bit of a risk for injury, and even if he's not a risk for injury, like say the Niners keep him away from being injured, that probably means that Tevin Coleman's getting some carries because Raheem Mostert's not taking the full load.
And he's just not going to be that franchise back, you know what I'm saying, for the team. So who knows if they even have a second plan for him to stay on the team after his contract. So, all
right, we're going to wide receivers. So the receivers in San Fran are Deebo Samuel, Dante Pettis, and the new draftee Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State.
All right, I'll start off with Deebo. I kind of like Deebo this year. I just like how in San Francisco's offense, they kind of run jet sweeps and all that stuff. And Deebo is one of the main guys who's getting those jet sweeps, and he really does make people miss. So if he's getting 10, 20 yards on a couple jet sweeps and maybe breaks free and gets a big one, that's some nice fantasy points that are coming on to your team.
Yeah,
so.
just one broke touchdown, one crazy 40, 50-yard touchdown, makes it a good week.
Yeah.
And so you just have to, like, if you're willing to take that risk, if the rest of your team is, pretty solid, if you're willing to take the risk of Deebo Samuel, 70% not going to break a touchdown and have like 10 points or less, or 30% going to break a huge touchdown and go off for like 25 points. And if you're willing to take that 30% risk, then your team should be in a pretty good spot. And if it happens, then you're good. Like, you win.
And like and kind of what we're saying too, we don't know how much really San Francisco is going to be passing and how often. So if Deebo Samuels gets a lot of targets, you know what I'm saying? That's going to make him a very good wide receiver. He's basically a running back and a wide receiver for your team.
What do you think Brandon Ayuk does this year? I mean, it's kind of hard to, project rookies because we haven't seen them in the NFL, but we'll try.
Yeah. I just hear that he has a couple things more to work on, but once he gets some of those things down, he will be a great wide receiver. But year one, I've heard a lot of people say he's not ready yet. So
yeah, I think it's the same thing with N'Keal Harry, in New England,
Oh.
out of the same school, out of Arizona State, and it was basically the exact same situation. It comes into a wide receiver room that could, use a little bit of help, and then kind of isn't really ready for the NFL and doesn't really do as good as people thought he would year one. And I think that's going to be the same thing with Brandon Ayuk in San Fran.
Yeah, and really the main reason why they picked him up is just because he's great after the catch, and 49ers love that, obviously, with Kittle, Deebo, now Ayuk, so.
Speaking of George Kittle, we'll go to tight ends, and this is, how I was talking about earlier, the couple top tight ends on the board in previous years. This guy's one of them. He's one of the top tight ends, if not the top tight end in the league this year. What's the projection for George Kittle?
So last year I took George Kittle, and so that kind of made me watch 49ers a little bit more. And the thing with George Kittle, I like him. He's still a top tight end, but a lot of his points, in my opinion, are kind of lucky. Like a lot of like breaks, 1 or 2 tackles, and then he's getting like a 64-yard touchdown. Like, those are huge points that you can't really rely on.
Yeah, you can't predict that. What I'm saying, you can predict touchdowns. Like, you can stat out guys and predict touchdowns for the year. You cannot, when it gets down to game time and they're playing, like actually playing football, you cannot predict at what point someone's going to break a crazy 60-yard touchdown for a ton of fantasy points. That is completely unpredictable.
Yeah.
And so if a wide receiver or tight end, running back, whatever, if someone relies on that as their fantasy point getting, their method of getting fantasy points, then that's probably not a reliable start each week. And I'm not saying that's specifically the case for George Kittle. I think George Kittle's going to do pretty good like he always does, and he'll be one of the top tight ends, and he'll be starting every single week for some team. But if he relies on crazy, 30, 40-yard touchdowns, he'll probably get a couple of those, and he'll probably win a week or two for you.
But you can't
rely on that.
Yep, and you can't really pick out when he's going to do that,
And so I would take George Kittle, but for the right price. So don't reach for someone that you can't necessarily rely on. But if you can't really rely on him for, a couple weeks because he might not break a touchdown, but you got him around under his ADP, that's a good pick.
Yeah. He's honestly, like Gino said, a guy that I really wouldn't reach too much for, just alone because he doesn't really get many targets. And if you're a tight end and I want to reach for you, you better be getting targets. You know what I'm saying? So,
and then one more thing I want to talk about in San Francisco. Do you think that fullback Kyle Juszczyk takes any touchdowns away from anyone?
That's a good question.
Probably one of the best. Probably the best fullback
and
in the league, because fullbacks aren't aren't the pinnacle of the positions in the NFL. But we've heard his name around. He gets touchdowns. He's been in fantasy lineups before. Does he take away touchdowns from anyone else?
I'm gonna say yes, and he has a very huge name. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
that's one downhill runner. I can tell you that.
And great blocker, obviously. But
so I think Kyle Juszczyk inside the 5-yard line. If the Niners get inside the 5-yard line, just be aware that if you have a guy from San Fran, he might not get the touchdown. It might be Kyle Juszczyk.
I like how you didn't just name one running back just because you don't know.
All right. Last team in the NFC West, the Seattle Seahawks, and we'll start with the quarterback, Russell Wilson.
Obviously Russell Wilson is probably not going to have a bad fantasy year. He's always at least top 8 every year.
Something like that.
Like he's always going to be a safe quarterback pickup. So, and he's got nice weapons around him. They added Dorsett too from New England, Greg Olsen.
Yeah, Russell Wilson here, I think might be the quarterback to pick up this year. Like, this is the guy you might be aiming for, because he's not going to be like a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson type guy. Those guys are going to go way too early.
Yep. True.
Don't reach for a quarterback at all. But Russell Wilson might have a year comparable to those two, but he'll be going way later in the draft.
Yeah, and I hope Seattle's not stupid enough to be a run first team again. Like, they've been a run first team for probably 3 years, and their running backs just keep on getting hurt. Like, are you kidding me? Like, is that really like what's really working? It's Russell Wilson putting out those clutch ass moments that's getting them all their dubs and stuff. So
yeah, they're a run first team until it comes down to the Super Bowl. And
yeah, you got what's his name? You got Homer as your starting running back. So
all right. So to the running backs then, Chris Carson. This is kind of a crowded running back room to be honest with you. Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, Rashad Penny, Travis Homer. I mean, Chris Carson is definitely the RB1. So there's no debating who the RB1 is here.
True.
But the other guys are, good enough to take the load away from Chris Carson.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, if I were gonna bet on any of these backs, I would probably go with Hyde, just because Penny and Carson are just way too much injury prone, at least for me. Carson, I would pick him over Hyde, but I'm just saying you can't rely on him. You know what I'm saying? He gets hurt every single year. It's good to pick up a guy and make you points for all your regular season, but if he's not even gonna be a player that's gonna be in the playoffs, why are you picking him so high? You know what I'm saying?
So Chris Carson, for me, I think I'm high on Chris Carson this year. If he stays off of the injury list, if he plays all 16 games, I'm very high on Chris Carson this year, because when you're drafting your team next month, 2 months from now, when you're drafting your team, everyone will have in their minds that Chris Carson's injury prone. Chris Carson's going to get injured. Chris Carson's going to get injured.
He might drop like me.
Yeah, he might drop like 2 rounds below his ADP. And that is a extremely good value pickup, that if he does stay healthy, if he doesn't get injured like everyone thinks he might, he's going to be a guy that you would have ended up taking, 4 rounds earlier than you did. He'd be like, his ADP right now is relevant to the fact that he might get injured. If we absolutely knew right now that he was not going to get injured, he was going to play all 16 games, his ADP would be 2 rounds higher.
He would probably be like a second round back picking up.
If we don't know that what's going to happen to him within the season. We don't know what's going to happen with anyone in the season. So his ADP is where he's at right now. If people think they don't know, but if people think that he's going to get injured, like it's inevitable that he gets injured, then he's going to drop 2 rounds below his ADP. That's a 4-round difference.
Mm-hmm. And that's helping you win week to week too. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So Chris Carson, for me, great value pick if you can get him below his ADP. Hopefully he stays healthy for the relevance of fantasy.
Yep.
We don't want any season-ending injuries for anyone.
Unless they're against me. No, I'm just kidding.
Unless they're playing against me in the championship. Then I would love for you to tear your ACL.
Get out of there, Tom Brady. I'm just playing.
All right, to the wide receivers. In the wide receiver room in Seattle, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Philip Dorsett, David Moore. That's about it. What are you thinking?
Definitely the big two, Tyler and DK. DK was a rookie last year, and he was kind of like a late second, which was supposed to be projected like a star type wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Came in his first year, actually put up some pretty good numbers. I really like him. I think he's definitely gonna improve too, from last year to this year, and be better than he was. And I think Tyler Lockett's just probably gonna be around the same what he was last year. He was almost a number 1 wide receiver too last year.
Yeah, I think Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are gonna have their normal, pretty good years. I'd pick them if they slip a few picks. I might reach a little bit for DK, considering that he might have a breakout year, and I wouldn't reach for Tyler that much. But if you're getting them around their ADP, I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah, and maybe I hope this is what Seattle did. What I heard, DK's route tree wasn't the best. If you work on his route tree and he's able to run all of his routes, that makes him even better. Like he was getting catches off like mainly street passes and stuff.
And if he can run all his routes, that makes Tyler Lockett better too.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden, if this guy can run routes, he's definitely getting that number 1 corner on him. And Tyler Lockett, who's been the number 1 wide receiver in Seattle for a while, is getting a number 2 corner on him.
Yep, exactly. They're about to be balling out there. They're about to be balling.
Tight ends in Seattle, the new addition, Greg Olsen, Big Montana, Will Disley, and they both have the same number, which is kind of weird. They're both 88. We'll see if someone changes their number because I'm sure they'll end up on the field at the same time. But who do you think starts? Is it Olsen?
Yeah, I definitely think if he doesn't keep on getting injured, which he's not the most injury prone player, but he does get injured once in a while. If he stays healthy, he seems like he can still ball.
I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking Will Disley starts here. And that might not necessarily be every game, because I don't think they're going to want, they're going to put Greg Olsen out there when they want to pass to Greg Olsen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they're not going to want to give him like some crazy load of blocking and route running when he's this old.
And plus, he was never the greatest blocking tight end anyways,
Right. All right. Well, that concludes the NFC West. Let's do a little quick, who do you think comes out on top in the NFC West this year and gets the automatic playoff spot?
I want to say 49ers, but I think it's Cardinals. I'm saying Cardinals this year.
I'm saying Seahawks. I think the Cardinals will get into the playoffs. I think the Seahawks will win the division, and the Cardinals will get into the playoffs as a wild card. This one might be a hot take. I think the San Francisco 49ers finished last in this division.
It is a hot take, but I could definitely see it. I can definitely see them taking a step down from last year.
Because the Rams aren't that great, but they could always pull out something. And plus, they're not playing in the Coliseum anymore. They've got their sweet new stadium, probably a bunch of new fans, and all the amenities. I don't know. I just feel like the Seahawks and the Cardinals are at the top, and it's just going to be a matter of fate to see what happens with the Rams and the Niners, and I think the Niners might end up in last place.
Yeah, I love the Cardinals team this year, man. I think their defense is about to be super amazing. They picked up Isaiah Simmons from the draft. They already have Jones that
Chandler Jones.
Yep, they have him. They have and then Patrick Peterson and another corner number 2 was hurt last year. Or they were suspended for 8 games, so that made their defense last year look even worse. So when all those guys are coming together, I think they're going to have a stellar defense. Their offense is obviously just a bunch of playmakers. Can't go wrong.
All right, so we'll move into our next segment. This one will be kind of fun. So what we're gonna do is we've got a list of names here that we thought of before we started recording, and we are going to guess their ADPs. And so it's gonna be a 10-team half PPR draft. Just for the standard. When we're guessing, we have that in mind. 10-team, half PPR, 1 QB. That's the format that we're guessing, and we are going to each say the number, like the ADP that we think of this guy, and we'll average ours together, and we'll see who's closest, see how close we got as an average, all that kind of stuff. As a disclaimer, we have not looked at any ADP charts. I don't think I've looked at ADP charts at all this year anyways.
Nope, I haven't looked at one.
And so these might be completely off, and this will be pretty funny.
Yeah. Get ready for some fails.
I have the ADP chart on my computer. I'm not even looking at it. When we'll name the guy, we will guess their ADP, and then I'll type the guy into the computer, and we'll see where that ADP is, and then we'll just move on to the next guy. And we'll do 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. And so we're gonna first start with Dak Prescott. So,
oh boy,
we're guessing ADPs, baby. This one's gonna be fun. We could be way
first.
off.
Am I first?
You'll go first on Dak.
Man. See, I don't even know where Mahomes or Jackson's ADP is gonna be going, but I'm sure
to help you. My guess. I have not looked at ADP charts. My guess is I think Mahomes and Lamar are going around the mid-20 range.
Wow.
That's early. That's early.
Yeah.
But I think they're going around the mid-20 range. So take that into account.
All right. I'm going to guess 43.
Okay.
Is the position he's going.
See, I'm thinking later than that. I don't know. Am I thinking later than that?
I just feel like he's going to be that guy that's going to be... It's either him or Murray, I feel like, is going to be right after those 2 guys.
I think I'm going to go a little bit later than that because I have faith in the fantasy community for driving down the ADPs of quarterbacks. Do not draft a quarterback early in a 1-quarterback league, please.
Plus.
So I'm going to have faith in the fantasy community that they have driven down the ADPs of most of these quarterbacks. And I'm going to guess 56 for Dak. So
I already forgot mine. Was it 43?
Yeah, you said 43. So Nico said 43. I said 56, and that is an average of just about 50, 49.5. So here we go. Player. Dak Prescott. 48.
All right. That wasn't too bad.
That wasn't too bad. We have not looked at any ADP charts at all, so that was not bad. That was pretty good.
I like it.
We just about nailed it. We were
as a squad.
We were 2 picks late, which is in the same round. So, all right, we'll go to.
It's like, well, they're still picking QBs early. Sorry. All right, but
I've lost my faith in the fantasy community.
All right, Josh Jacobs, running back. What do you think? Where his ADP is going?
All right, Josh Jacobs of the now Las Vegas Raiders. Josh Jacobs. I'm thinking. I think he's going to do good this year, but I'm not sure if the rest of the fantasy world thinks exactly that. We'll go with 39.
I was actually gonna go a lot earlier than that. I think I was gonna go I'll go 19.
Okay, so that's an average of 29. So 39 and 19.
Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like more people are gonna understand Josh Jacobs' second year. He's just gonna be really good. So
Josh Jacobs. Wow. 13. Wow.
I was gonna say 16, but then
Okay, for me, how much I think Josh Jacobs is going to do good this year. That is absolutely way too early. That is like early second round.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are very high on
that
Josh
is
Jacobs.
Way too early. Do not draft Josh Jacobs at 13.
Oh man, that is crazy though. I mean, they must expect a huge workload out of him, and I get it. He has an amazing center, you know. Is there the rest of their line good? Do you know of? I think they got some bodies. So
we'll see. He might. I don't think he's gonna do bad, but I wouldn't draft him at 13. That's a little high.
James Conner.
So yeah, James Conner. This one's a weird one because, you know, he was the elite running back. He actually, when Lance, the guest that we had on the last show, won the league. The reason he won the league is because he picked up James Conner when Le'Veon Bell held out that entire time. That is how he won the league. So James Conner has been up in the elite tier of running backs for the last few years, and now he's kind of, you know, regressing back towards the average. That's what I was about to
say. I feel like last year he fell a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
So James Conner for me, man, if Josh Jacobs is going that high, I feel like James Conner is going to go higher than I think, but I think James Conner's ADP is going to be pretty low, to be honest with you. But if Josh Jacobs is going that high, it might be higher. I'm going to meet myself in the middle here, and I'm going to say 48.
For James Conner?
48 for James Conner.
I'm saying 25.
All right,
I was thinking around the 20s, but I'm going to give it 25.
So our middle ground here is 36.5, so about 37. You said 20...
25.
25. I said 48. That's a big difference, boys.
That is. So who's right?
Who's right? James Conner. 47.
Damn. I'm way off on that one.
Nailed it.
Yeah, wow. I thought I don't know. I just thought he was backs go early. I thought he was just going to be the next guy picked up, but I guess not.
Running back 22. So,
wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Rank?
Running back 22. So you said 25 total.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
He's almost the 25th running back, not even all positions.
Yeah, that's fair. I would probably give him around 22 rank.
All right. So, yep.
Yep.
James Conner, I was one off. That was probably the closest I'll be today.
All right, wide receivers. Allen Robinson, Bears.
Allen Robinson. This one's a different one.
Yeah, because I feel like he's going to be expected to have a boom season, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he was kind of down a little bit for 2 years.
I think he was down mostly because Mitch Trubisky kind of had a
different quarterback.
Blow-up season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. How high are people going to reach on Allen Robinson?
I don't know.
All right, I'll take a guess. 65.
I think he's gonna be a little bit earlier than that. I think I'm going with 52.
All
right. So 65 from Neco, 52 from myself, and that's around 58 and a half, 59-ish. So here we go. 27 from Allen Robinson. Please do not draft Allen Robinson that high. Please don't.
I'm sitting here with my mouth open, bro. Like,
yeah.
Do you really think he's gonna like do that good?
If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts right now, to where you cannot see us, we are shocked.
Like, the only player that I'm really maybe thinking about getting is on the Bears is Montgomery, and that's just because I feel like he's gonna get a lot of volume, and soon a touchdown's gonna come.
Right.
You think
Allen Robinson, wide receiver 10. Wide receiver 10.
God.
Please don't draft him that high.
Yeah, that's bad. I guess 65 was a bad guess now looking back at it, but
27 would have been a bad guess too.
Yeah, you would have been wrong even if you were right. But
if you nailed it right on, you still would have been dead fucking wrong.
All right. Robbie Anderson.
Anderson.
He's on the Panthers now. He was on the Jets.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers. This one's a weird one because, no Cam Newton.
Yep. Teddy Bridgewater now. New system. He's a street guy too, and
new coach.
Yep. And they say Teddy isn't the guy really to throw long too much, which I feel like they're really just saying that because last year he played 6 games and he was more trying to be the safe guy instead of launching stuff. But
Robbie Anderson.
They paid him too. They paid him.
So maybe Robbie Anderson's in the range where we were guessing Allen Robinson was.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 62.
I'm gonna go 59. So we were right about the same there, around the 60, 61 range. Yeah. Robbie Anderson, 139, wide receiver 52.
I just feel like
this might be affected by Cam Newton leaving.
Yeah,
because the whole Teddy Bridgewater thing isn't set in stone. It's not solid. We don't know exactly what Teddy can do. So that might have affected this a lot.
And I feel like he's not going to get too much of the extra receiving points. You know what I'm saying? He's probably only going to get like 3-4 catches a game, probably.
Touchdown dependent, probably, for Robbie Anderson.
Yeah. Yep. A boom player.
A bad note on Robbie Anderson is that he has a bye week in week 13, which some leagues start playoffs in week 13, which would not be ideal. To have one of your wide receivers on bye when you play in the playoffs. So yeah, Robbie Anderson, 139. Down there probably because of Teddy Bridgewater. If Teddy does pretty decent, if he does maybe a little bit better than people are expecting, I think Robbie Anderson gets up there to the 70 range.
Yeah, they got DJ Moore and Samuel too, Curtis Samuel, something like that.
So I think even though our projections were way off, I don't think they're crazy off, because if Teddy Bridgewater does decent, he's more towards our projections than he is these.
True.
All right, one tight end, Noah Fant of the Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm. All right, so seemed like
this one's kind of hard because it's not really, you don't really know where tight ends are going. I know I can rank him just about in the realm of tight ends only, but I just don't know where tight ends are going.
I'm definitely thinking the hundreds. Are you thinking the hundreds?
Yeah, I'm thinking the hundreds.
I'm thinking 125. I'll give him a 125.
I'm thinking 113. A little bit higher than you, 113. So we're right around, the 120 range. 113. Hey, dude, I got one.
This dude's going crazy.
I got one, boys. No, dude. I got James Conner. I was one off. Noah Fant. I nailed it. The other ones were atrocious.
Yeah. I probably had like 1 or 2 good ones.
that one was pretty good. You're pretty close on that.
Yeah.
We were pretty close as total there.
Spot on, though. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Noah Fant's in for a pretty good year. I think he could actually, rise above his 113 ADP.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're expecting him to have his boom year this year.
I mean, that's tight end 12 in some leagues. In half PPR, 10-team leagues, tight end 12 is not starting.
Yeah.
And I think he can start.
Yeah, definitely starting caliber. You know what I'm saying? He's just kind of like an Evan Ingram. and I would feel so happy to have Evan Ingram as a tight end.
This one's a little weird. You can see the because like on these ADPs are from Fantasy Pros, and they average the ADP, and so they take the average of 3 different ADPs right now, and that's Yahoo, FFC, and Fantrax. And it's kind of funny because FFC is 102, Fantrax is 107, and Yahoo is 152 to bring it back to the average, and rank it at around 113.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big wide range from those systems.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think I'd nail one.
Yeah, you were one off.
I promise you, I have not looked at a single ADP chart this year.
Yeah, I haven't either.
To be honest with you, I probably should be looking at ADP charts, but I have not.
I still think it's a little tiny late. I feel like if you look at them a little early,
they'll move. Up. They'll move. Noah Fant definitely won't be 113 by the time he gets around to the draft. He might be higher, he might be lower,
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think higher.
All right. So we are going to get into the shit show of the day. We have another situation, boys.
Another situation.
Hey, if you thought, like, just replay in your head right now. Close your eyes. Replay in your head. Le'Veon Bell just saying, screw you. Replay in your head. Ezekiel Elliott saying, I'm out. Replay in your head. Melvin Gordon going, yeah, no.
Like it's like a yearly thing that it happens. It's like
happening.
one running back is like, oh nope, I want more money.
Nope. Money.
Yeah. So what happened with Dalvin Cook?
So yeah, that if you haven't noticed, that's who we're talking about. This is Dalvin Cook. We're poised for another situation, like the whole Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, all that kind of stuff. Dalvin Cook is now asking for a contract extension. So right now, this is according to Adam Schefter at ESPN. Dalvin Cook has 1 year at $1.3 million left on his contract. When the Texans signed David Johnson this year, so David Johnson's now on the Texans. He is getting $13 million a year. And so that's right around where Dalvin Cook is saying that he wants his money. Like he wants it at around $15 million a year. And he's out. Without that extension, he is not showing up for camp or anything beyond. That is his words. So if he doesn't get that extension, he's not playing.
Yeah, and could be scary, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if they settle all this and before training camp, then we won't have to worry about the scare anymore. But I think the scare is gonna happen because their cap space, they don't have too much for. They're letting other people go and all that stuff. So, and if they're really thinking that they're gonna pay Dalvin Cook 13 to 15 million, like I don't know. I don't even think it's a smart decision. You have other really good running backs behind him, like Madison, and I think Madison's really good. So I don't know. If you do bet on Dalvin Cook in the draft, you better get Alexander Madison.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily the biggest guy for handcuff situation, but right here would be the one where you want it. Is you want the handcuff just in case, Dalvin Cook doesn't play. And if he doesn't play, I think Alexander Madison's in for a year.
Mm-hmm. Kind of going back a little bit, the ADP say he's still on the team, but he's still holding out. And it's like time for a lot of people to draft. Where do you think that Dalvin Cook would be going?
So yeah, here's the thing: is that now with everyone having the Zeke, the Le'Veon Bell, the Melvin Gordon thing fresh in their minds, right, from the previous years, there is going to be a extreme drop off of Dalvin Cook's ADP if by the time you get to your fantasy draft, he is still holding out. And so Dalvin Cook actually might be an extreme value pick Because if he's going to go way lower than he should be going, then you're getting him and you're taking the huge risk, obviously, that he plays. But you're getting him for such a good price that if he does play, you could have an amazing team. You could win a championship from just that. But if you do draft Dalvin Cook, I would reach extensively for Alexander Madison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And so Dalvin Cook, see, this was my situation with Ezekiel Elliott
I was going to bring this up.
when he was holding out. It was getting, we have an 8-team league, and it was getting late in the 5th round, in the 6th round.
And keepers, too.
Yeah, and we hit keepers. It was getting late in the 5th, 6th round, and Zeke was still held out by the time that whole thing, that draft was going on. And I had people left and right offering me trades for that pick. And I just ended up saying, you know what, I'm going to take the risk, and I'm going to take Zeke. And it kind of screwed me over because it ended up working out. I had an absolute god squad for the first part of the year when Zeke was actually playing, and then they, suspended him the amount of games, but they suspended him later in the season, right around the fantasy playoffs, and so that really sucked. So I ended up not winning.
Yeah,
I made the playoffs. I didn't win anything in the playoffs, or actually I think I got 3rd or something like that. But that's the risk you take. You take that risk to hopefully get the reward, and that's up to you,
Yeah.
And so we'll go back to Dalvin Cook's situation here. So he's saying that the Vikings right now are a quarterback first team because they just gave quarterback Kirk Cousins, and he had 1 year left on his deal also when they gave him the contract extension. So the same situation that Dalvin Cook's in. And Cousins is making $150 million over 5 seasons. That's a lot of money.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Yeah. So I can see Dalvin Cook wanting more money because he obviously thinks that he's the foundation of that team, and which he might be. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how willing the Vikings are going to be to give it to him. How much leverage does Dalvin Cook have?
See, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because he has produced a lot when he was on the field, but he's also injury prone too. That's another scary thing about Dalvin Cook.
His ACL is a little bit wobbly,
and he was hurt last year. He was hurt the year before.
So yeah, I don't think he has that much leverage either, because we'll repeat this often during the podcast, but you don't need an elite running back to win a Super Bowl. You do need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I mean, look at the past, however many Super Bowls you want to look at. Over 90% of those Super Bowls are gonna be an elite quarterback winning that Super Bowl. But if you look down at the depth chart for the running backs, I mean, they might not necessarily have an elite running back like the Patriots in those 6 rings. They didn't really have the bell cow running back like we see right now with like Zeke and Cook and all that.
You're gonna call Garrett Blunt an elite running back?
Exactly. Like, you do not need an elite running back to win a Super Bowl.
Nope.
So I don't know if Dalvin Cook has that much leverage in Minnesota, but we'll see what happens. Keep an eye on it. You always want to be updated with this kind of stuff, because if he slips rounds and people don't want him because they think he's holding out or whatever, you might want to pick him up, or you might want to avoid him entirely if you think that he's not going to play at all. So keep your eye on it. Always be researching, all that kind of stuff. And while you're researching, you can go on to our YouTube page, hit subscribe, click like, listen to all the podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Incline Podcast.